we got to talk about what's happening in this country. President Biden has hit the nail on the head in a recent interview where he said, his recent comments, where he said that American citizens right now are, quote, really, really down. Now, I want to talk about the fact that we are in this place where America is on edge, folks, that there are a number of factors that have led to the place that, as President Biden calls, down, why we are this way. According to CNN, I wanted you to check out what some of the big factors are that we're facing in this country. CNN pointed out this. Here we go. Many key aspects of economic, social, and national life that were once viewed as smoothly running certainties are out of joint. The COVID-19 pandemic, thought it has eased its deadly grip, has left a complicated legacy of challenges that are still disrupting daily life. Some are aggravations, like the more than 800 airline flights canceled on Sunday. Others threaten Americans' economic prospects and sense of safety and well-being, like the growing fears of a recession. Now, let's continue on that. Such an atmosphere is sure to breed new turmoil in a nation seeing widening ideological divides ahead of midterm elections that are likely to cause more dysfunction if power is split in Washington between Republicans and Democrats. And it almost guarantees years of political bickering ahead of the 2024 presidential race, which may hamper the nation's capacity to solve any crisis. Wow. America is on edge. I want to bring in culture crew member today, Mr. Jules P., who is an artist, who is an activist, and who is a brother who is doing some great work in his community, and most importantly, doing the great work of mentoring. Jules, thank you. Always a pleasure to talk to you, brother. How are you this afternoon?
Doing good, doing good.
Jules, when we talk about this, America being on edge, and as I laid out, I mean, you know, that's just a synopsis of some of the big issues, not even to add the fact, Jules, that, you know, there is internal strife within various communities across this country, cultural issues that we're seeing. I mean, these are just the big ticket items, and just the sense that, you know what, I just don't like people. I don't like to be around people. I don't like how people think. Let's not talk about the fact of the impact of technology and social media and how it has shaped the world that we're in and how we see the world. America's on edge, Jules. What's your take on it, bro?
I definitely want to pick up off that last point of the statement that you read, because it's like, you know, the problem that I see is going to be the bickering again between the two parties. That's why I feel like a lot of Americans are on edge, because I feel like there's never going to be a resolution, because one side is going to say one thing in Republican, one side is going to say another thing in Democrat, and it's like it's like a constant argument. So whoever has the idea to fix the problem, this side is going to refute that. And when they have the idea to fix the problem, this side is going to refute that. So it's like we're going to constantly be in this turmoil where nobody's going to come to an agreement on how to fix things. To elaborate more on the different points, I mean, just look at it. Like, we live in this regular day society. Going to the grocery stores is different. Going to the malls are different. I mean, it's no stores in the mall. If you go in the mall, it's like the malls are empty because all the stores couldn't handle the pandemic. The pandemic really crushed a lot of business.
Right.
And then that wears, again, you know, that the new term everybody wants to use starting from 2020 or 2019, 2020 is like the mental health. Well, that's a thing now, because now people losing jobs, people have lost jobs, people can't support their families how they used to. So now that changes the consumer, that changes how corporations market business. And it's like now, you know, grocery stores, like they're not getting products in that you used to be able to get on a regular basis, a consistent basis. You know, back when the pandemic first happened, remember, we couldn't even get paper towels or toilet paper or Lysol. Like, it just was so much going on at one time. And that was like, well, is this going to be the new America? I mean, literally, that's what has changed. Is like, all right, this is now the new normal. And then it's like, now we get to a point where we're accepting it, but we're not happy with it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's like, you know, that's literally the state that we're at right now. And then as a side, I mean, Joe Biden, I mean,
we talk about it, man. We know the president we know the president is struggling right now, to say the least.
Struggling. He couldn't even ride a bike. He couldn't come to a stop on a bike. He fell right off.
And you know what, man? And I hope they say he didn't sustain any serious injuries. I fell off bikes before.
Man,
so,
I get it, but it's like when I seen it, like because I got the CNN sent the headline. So again, like you say, technology. It came to my phone. So it said Joe Biden falls off a bike. I'm like, oh man, like I'm like, dang, like not the president. Like you good. Then when I seen the video, I'm like, he came to a complete stop and then tipped over. I'm like, that's America right now. Enough is enough.
Coming to a complete stop and then tipping over.
Like
that's America right now, Jules.
Yeah, we reached our point and we can't take it no more. That's America.
See, that's what. Hey, Keenan, let's throw that quote back up on the screen for me, please, bro. Because I want people to see that. Look at all these issues, but this is the problem. Let's go to the next one, King. Look at this is the last part of this. Thank you. Listen to what CNN is saying. It almost guarantees years of political bickering ahead of this race, this is the part that gets me, Jules, which may hamper the nation's capacity to solve any crisis.
Right.
That's why I wanted us to focus on. That's why I raised this part of the conversation, to focus on any crisis. Like we're getting to a point in this country where the simple things, like in government, they call it constituent services, right? Mm-hmm. And when that becomes interrupted or disrupted, like we see with the supply chain, getting certain foods in and all of that. I mean, it's one thing to talk about war or the looming threat of war. It's one thing to talk about the recession, but it's another thing when certain constituent services are disrupted. Right. Like when you can't, if you think about it on a local level, folks, it's like if you can't get your trash picked up.
Right.
If there is snow, for example, that comes into your area, you can't get snow removal, right? Or you go to a government office, they can't provide you the services. Like if you are a veteran, they can't provide you with certain services. I mean, or any of the constituent services, right? The things that like this quote mentioned, the things that you're supposed to rely the most on. Big point. We talked about this a couple of years ago, Jules, when the mail situation was all messed up, right? Mm-hmm. Now still it's, the mail, let me just say this, like the post office, according to polls across the country, out of all the government institutions, more people had faith that the Postal Service was going to continue to operate at a high level than any other government agency. 90% of the people, the American people, had faith in the post office and its ability to do its job. When things start to fall apart, those constituent services, when those things that we often rely on, when they start to fall apart, then it's just a reminder that this place that we're in, the edge that we are on, is here. And that's the thing. Like when you can't, I understood when the pandemic happened, when it first happened, you couldn't get certain supplies. Now we're 2.5 years in.
You still can't get it.
Now I might have to cut. I still can't get certain supplies. And then the stuff that I do have to get, the prices are crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's starting to now the sense of security is starting to be eroded. The foundation that we all believe is going to be eroded. And that's the part. Like, okay, yeah, we know we got a war. We know we got a recession. We know we got some race issues. But what? I can't get my mail?
Right.
I can't. I gotta spend $15, whereas before I spent, $10 on a pack of chicken.
Right.
It's like, oh man, that's when the situation goes. All right, I want to get some of our watchers and folks. Make sure y'all check in, post your comments. Let's hear what you got to say as well. McCole kicked us off today, Jules. McCole, it's always good to hear from you. McCole said, America is on edge. The combination of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, continuous racism, facts, health disparities, right, mass shootings, and random violence, people are fearful. Right. Yeah. And guess what? Fear makes you do things out of a space of irrational, right? You know what I mean? Now when you're afraid, you're going to start acting more irrational than when you are not afraid. And that just adds to the edge. Jules, what's your take, bro?
When you're fearful, and this is not even, let's not even talk about, I want to bring up guns, but it's the term trigger happy. And it's not even just talking about using a weapon. That's just talking about life. You make irrational decisions out of fear because now you're trigger happy, because now you're on edge and you're ready to jump and do whatever to try to get out of that space of fear. And that causes you to make even worse decisions. That's daily, day in, day out operations. That's with your job. That's with your home. That's with your kids. That's with anything. You just act off of what the fear is, and you're jumping now instead of sitting down, logically explaining, logically reasoning, and then acting on. So, I mean, that was a great point. I mean, the fear part, I think, is what America is really dealing with. And then, like I said, and that's not even bringing up the violence. Like we talked about that for the past couple of shows. It's just the mass shootings. I mean, it was another shooting last night at the Mochella Festival in DC. It's something everywhere. It's just getting out of control.
Absolutely. All right, Nisa 1971 checked in. Nisa, good to hear from you too, sis. Nisa agreed with McCole and said yes, and it's the refusal of white citizens in society to realize that what affects disadvantaged communities affect them too eventually, and now those chickens are coming home to roost. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, right, that and here's the other part of it. I think that we need to note. Culturally, we have always been taught and conditioned to believe that if you have a certain amount of money, if you live in a certain neighborhood, that you would, and I know it doesn't sound rational, but we've been taught that if you have a certain amount of money, if you live in a certain neighborhood, if you work at a certain job, that you will be quote unquote immune to any type of issue, right? Regardless of what city you in. Oh, I live in this neighborhood. We don't get crime. Oh, I do this. This is my job. So I don't understand, I don't experience poverty. But now it's all of those isms, poverty or materialism, racism, sexism, a dysfunctional nationalism. All of those things are seeping into every element, every profession, every neighborhood, every corner of our lives, that now we're all forced to have to deal with this.
Right.
You gotta, you and I and everyone else in this country on, as we have this show, we all are going to have to face the ugly side of injustice and racism and materialism. And we're going to all have to face that. We're going to have to face it. Like, there's no neighborhood that is so safe that you're not going to face something. Right. No car that is so smooth or so we're all going to have to face it. Right. And that's that's a hard reality check when in your head and all throughout our lives we've been said you won't have to face it because this is what you do, who you are, how much money you bring in. I don't care if you're LeBron James. You can't ride through LA and close your eyes and say, I don't see the disparity. Right. You know what I mean? You can't do it. Oh, I'm a doctor. I don't see the a broken healthcare system. You can't do it. Right. You can't do it. Let's go back to our comments. Let's go to Belinda. Belinda, it's good to check in with you, sis. Belinda checks in and said, look, Biden showed he's not balanced in life or at work. Our well-being depends on him not riding those damn Republicans out. I like how you did that, Belinda.
I like how she did that.
I like how she did that. She just made that analogy. Hey, see the Biden might have too much. Hey, Joe, Biden got too much faith, man. I'm serious. And maybe it's just because of me. And you can correct me, bro. I don't know if you're at this place, but maybe it's just me. As I get older, they always attribute Maya Angelou with that saying that if a person show you who they are, believe them. After a while, you start to be like, Dr. Angelou was on to something.
Right.
Because I can't see your intentions until they express through actions. And if your actions show that they're against my interest, then I have to believe your intention is against my interest. You can't be like, I made good intentions and I'm going to hurt you. And then expect me to be like, no, that's cool. You hurt me. But your intentions your intentions lead to your actions. So if somebody show you who they are, you got to believe them. If the Republicans are saying, no, the intention is to save America, but everything you're doing is disempowering to the citizens of America, I got to go with your actions, bro. I can't, your well-intentioned, your good intention, I can't bank on that. I can only bank on your policies. I can only bank on what I see you do.
Right.
Is that crazy?
No, but I got a question.
And
focusing on your point and focusing on her comment. Is Biden overwhelmed? Are we not talking about that enough?
Is he overwhelmed?
Yeah, it's 2 years into his term. We're seeing all the problems that he's trying to recover from the previous administration, then all the new problems that's going on in this current administration, and then the fact of his age and his health. Trying to do this. Is he overwhelmed? Are we looking at a president that is just, he ain't saying it, but we see he's a regular American living in a time where this is too much at one time. He's living in fear. He's overwhelmed. He can't deal with it.
Hey, Jules.
And he's not saying it.
Jules, that's why you my guy, man. I think we gotta say what it is. Anybody in that seat, in this moment, in this day and time, would have to say, "Oh, this is too much."
Right.
I mean, look, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the issue. The real issue is we expect Biden to be Superman, or some of us, not all of us, of course, right? We expect any political leader to be Superman or Superwoman, and then we're like, when they don't meet that expectation, we get disappointed. Why can't you? I mean, think about it. What school has prepared you for a war across the seas, a recession, a pandemic you still ain't got a full management of, right? Racial issues that the country has yet to fully address, right? So they're leaving it. And then your administration is always going back and forth. You got these Republicans, you got these Democrats. Like, there's no school that has prepared you for that.
Right.
There's no, like you could be like, well, I've been in public service for 40 years. That may give you some experience or some know-how. But if there, in every president, there's nothing that has prepared you for the, like you said, bro, the onslaught of crisis. It's like crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. And we gotta, as I think part of the issue is, as Americans, as citizens of this country, we have to say this, we have to come to the point that we're like, you know what? It's unrealistic to expect this man to carry the weight of it all. We got to do something. As citizens, we got to do something.
Yeah,
because you're right, bro. I think we're overwhelmed. I think, again, going back to what CNN said, it all hampers our capacity to solve any crisis.
Right.
That's where we're at. Is it possible? Let me add to your question, bro, as we wrap up. Is it possible that the crises are above the capacity of the American government?
Now
is that possible?
I think yes.
Can the American government, as we have it at this moment, and as it stands, and based upon our current relationship with our government, can we truly expect the United States of America, the government of this great country, right? And I'm saying that, I'm being for real. Can we truly expect them to solve all of these problems on its own?
Right.
Without the help of people, of the citizens?
Right. Man, that's a great, you know what? That now changes the trajectory of what we're looking for in government now. Because, you know, when we were younger, we were voting for political candidates to fix and solve issues. But like you said, when the issues are crisis after crisis after crisis, pounding and pounding and pounding, it's like one person can't logically fix everything at one time. I'll give you an example. When you stated the fact of, you know, there's no school that teaches this, it's messed up because, say, for instance, racism was the problem. So say I want to go to school for 4 years, I want to study criminal justice, I want to become a lawyer or a prosecutor, whatever, and fight that issue. But as soon as I get to that point, boom, the pandemic happened. So that changes the course of everything going on in America. So what I fought so hard to get to, that's not even the main issue anymore. And then once we started to adapt to the pandemic, boom, then war happens. And then after we started getting close to, all right, let's figure out what's going on in the world, then boom, the economy happens. It's like you said, it's just so much at one time. It's like we were not prepared for this. And there's not one person that can solve this. It has to be a collective effort, whether it's government, whether it's local government, whether it's community. It has to be some effort that's placed upon a certain group of people, a certain task, or a certain coalition of people that can deal with these type of issues where we have identifiers. Because I know governments have different, parties and committees that handle different issues in different sectors. But at the same sense, it's like, hey, that's where that needs to be a combined effort instead of always, at the end of the day, letting the president speak, because that's perception now that the president is solving the issues, not knowing behind the scenes there's different boards and coalitions and committees working on these same issues.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. I think if we are honest and truthful, the United States government can handle this.
Right.
Now, does that mean that all is lost? I'm a true believer in people power.
Right.
I'm a true believer in people power. If the United States government doesn't take the necessary action to change its course, i.e., empower the citizens, right?
Right.
Like, this administration can get to work empowering people. I think that's one of the big things as we close. One of the big things that attracted so many people to President Obama than to any other president, he made us feel like we were a part of the solution.
Right.
He made us feel like we were a part of the solution. And as a result of that, community involvement increased. More people got more engaged in government. But he made us feel like, one, that hope was present, and that in order for us to be a better country, that we can become better people. And as a result of becoming better people, we can become more engaged citizens.
Right.
That's what I think is missing now. We don't need to have an Obama-esque style leadership because we've had that for 8 years. What we need to do, I think, is to dig deep in ourselves to say enough is enough, and to say, I don't need somebody to come and rile me up. I need to rile myself up because this is the right time and the right thing to do. And this is really the only way. I mean, look, there's no outside foreign entity, government agency that's going to help this country. The big factor in turning this country around is the American people.
Right.
If no other institution says enough is enough, the American people, Black, white, Asian, Latino, Native Americans, on all other groups that are in the boundaries of this country, if no other institution says we can help. The American people says, I need to step up and I'll do this and we'll do this ourselves.
Right.
We have lost the faith in each other. And as a result, the leadership has lost faith in its ability to serve us.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Now, the question then becomes, what type of pressure did the president use? What were some of the discussions with his close advisors? And so that's being discussed right now with the January 6th committee. And tomorrow we will have a much deeper, and a fuller conversation. And of course, getting your reactions to it. But what I think is very interesting is that even though all of those things have been happening, there is another crisis I think that we need to talk about, which is the crisis of money and fundraising. The president and his colleagues are a bunch of election deniers, and how this is still happening, folks. Who is financing Trump's big lie caucus? That's the big conversation right now. This is a piece that was written by Alex Kingsbury, and he pointed out some things that I wanted to share with you because I think it's important. You have a number of Fortune 500 companies, major brands, that who initially, when January 6th took place, they said, you know what, we're not going to continue to put our money in the pockets of certain Republican officials. Now, let me just say this. Companies put their money in the pockets of both Democrats and Republicans. So they have no allegiance. They are not affiliated to either one of them. It for them is, I'm going to put my money in your pocket and their pocket, because whoever wins, my interests are still going to be considered in the big picture. That's a lesson for us. But there are some companies that, even in spite of what happened on January the 6th, even though they have publicly made statements saying, you know what, this is absolute insanity, there are companies that are continuing to fund election deniers in the Congress and in these upcoming primary races that we're seeing across the country. I want to share with you one of the things that Mr. Kingsbury wrote from his opinion piece. Let's put up this first quote, Keenan, because I think it opens this discussion up, and then we'll bring our culture crew members, Iman, as well as Lisa, into the discussion. But here's what Mr. Kingsbury said. He said, in the year and a half since the attack, rivers of cash from once skittish donors have resumed flowing to election deniers, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes just 1,000, but it adds up. In the month of April alone, the last month for which data is available, Fortune 500 companies and trade organizations gave more than $1.4 million to members of Congress who voted not to certify the election results, according to an analysis by the transparency group Accountable.us. AT&T led the pack, giving $95,000 to election objectors. Y'all hear me on this? Now, Mr. Kingsbury, you might say, well, why should we listen to Mr. Kingsbury? Mr. Kingsbury is a member of the New York Times editorial board. So I'm going to put his credentials out there in his proper context. But this is serious. Money is still being given to people who denied the election, who are continuing to promote this big lie. And these are companies that you and I may hold near and dear to our hearts. Let's bring in Lise Winnie, who serves as the host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. And we also are joined by Iman Heath, who is an activist and entrepreneur. Iman, welcome to the show. Good to see you again, sis.
Hey, family.
All right, good. All right, first and foremost, Lise, and I got more to share from Mr. Kingsbury, but to hear that Mr. Kingsbury pointed out this situation here, that you still have these big companies who was like, oh no, we're not going to support them, and then a couple of months pass, and then the support goes from zero and it starts climbing back up the charts. How should we respond to that?
I think that we do live in a society now where we hold people accountable, companies accountable for what they're putting out, whether it's endangering the environment, whether it's a social justice issue. So I think this is the same way, because this really affects or impacts our democracy. So with those companies like AT&T and those companies like Home Depot, I think it's time for us to start holding them accountable, because they're not necessarily donating directly to the Republican Party. They're donating to Republican candidates like Jim Jordan. And these are people that are repeatedly not coming. They're saying no, even though they're being called in to come into court. They're like, no, I'm not doing it. So we do need to hold them accountable by making sure that they know, like, we know what you did. We know that you're supporting these candidates. I don't know if this is a boycott of their products, or if this is more so just putting them on blast. I'm not exactly sure what that should look like just yet, but we do definitely need to hold them accountable.
Yeah, let me just share with you some of the companies that are strong supporters or are still supporting Republican candidates, Republican officials, and are still fundraising the big lie. A lot of money from companies such as Boeing, Koch Industries, Home Depot, you mentioned that, FedEx, UPS, and General Dynamics. Now take a look at this. Akeem, let's put the second quote up on the board, because I think this is important. All of those companies, with the exception of Koch Industries and FedEx, once said they refrained from donating to politicians who voted to reject the election results. Of the 249 companies that promised not to fund the 147 senators and representatives who voted against any of the results, fewer than half have stuck to their promises, according to CREW. And CREW is known as the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. That's what CREW stands for. So you still have a number of companies, Iman, that are still can't stick to their promise. Again, they're thinking about their interests. And this is where capitalism, once again, is put on the stand and has to be questioned. You mean to tell me this was such an attack on democracy that even these companies are saying, it was an attack, but
like Lee said, accountability. We have to apply more pressure with these companies when it comes to holding them accountable. The fact that we have to even put in a but, yeah, it was a riot, but yeah, this such and such happened, but softens the blow.
Right.
And we can't do anything but call it what it was and not sugarcoat it. So these companies, I understand they may not, on the business side, you may not want to lose money. They may have made a promise. If they keep their end of the bargain, they'll get something large in return. So I understand business-wise not wanting to lose that. However, there's such thing as ethics. And I think that's the part that a lot of businesses forget. It's ethics. And then us as citizens in the society, like Lee said, we have to hold them accountable. Accountability means a lot. Hold your money. Don't buy the flowers at Home Depot. Go to your local floral shop or something if you want to, but we got to hold them accountable.
Oh, no doubt. Akeem, let's go to the second quote I want to go back to that quote. The first, it was a part prior to this quote, and I think this is it starts with all told. Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing. All told, as of this week, corporations. This is this week, folks. This is not like this is this week in June. Corporations and industry groups gave almost $32 million to the House and Senate members who voted to overturn the election and to the GOP. Committees focused on the party's congressional campaigns. The top 10 companies that gave monies to those members, according to Crew's analysis of campaign finance disclosures, are those companies that you see right there. Boeing, Home Depot, Valero Energy, Lockheed, UPS, Raytheon, Marathon Petroleum, General Motors, and FedEx. Like, these are all the companies that we all use.
UPS and FedEx, we see every day.
Every day. Every day. So the question that I have is, because, you know, at least you know it and I know it, when such situations like this, when companies do some type of egregious violation of the culture for Black people, we were like, oh, we should boycott the company. Do we boycott FedEx, Valero, Home Depot, Lockheed Martin, UPS, General Motors? Do we boycott those companies?
Well, I mean, and just to correct it's Coke, the Coke industry.
Coke.
So the Koch brothers, who they
Coke
are
Coke, whatever. No,
they are known for donating
Yes.
money to Republicans like Kevin Nunes,
Right.
and these are people that have always kind of pushed this narrative. They are big Trump supporters, and they believe in this big lie. So I think what we need to do is, beyond just boycotting, we do need to start to take money out of politics. And this is the issue that we have when you have all of this money, that these super PACs and all of these big corporations, because at the end of the day, the reason why they're so invested is because of things like taxes and making sure that people cannot make, unionize within their organizations, and make sure that they don't get good wages, and make sure that the company is always on the top. So this is why this is important. Although it may not say Black in front of it, who are the people that get shafted the most when we're looking at the labor market? Black and brown folks and people in lower income communities. This is something that we should be looking at, because that is why these companies like FedEx and these companies like Home Depot are still investing money into these candidates, because these are the candidates that push those laws.
So that puts us in a precarious position, then, Iman. Like, we are forced to do business with these companies that continue to finance, and this is the big concern that I have around the big lie and everything that came along with this January 6th situation. The concern is it's not going to die.
No,
I mean, we having these public hearings. Janine posted. And I think, Janine, you made a very good point. You said Congress is doing everyone a disservice by not holding these hearings during prime time. Most voters are not going online to watch the hearings after work. Yeah, a lot of people may not. People checked out after maybe the first or second hearing, right? But that's the problem. The problem is that even though we may not be talking about it, even though President Biden and Vice President Harris may say, oh, we need to, the committee is going to deal with that. Behind the scenes, money is still being funneled. So that means that these candidates, Iman, can still create commercials. They can still move forward on their agenda, because at the end of the day, they're not concerned about what the American people have already shown, that the disdain about what happened. So they're not going to check themselves. They're only concerned about, I'm in the office now. Okay, fine. I'm going to be quiet about what happened on January the 6th, because they're still being supported.
I'm glad that this is happening the way it is, honestly, because by not keeping this situation in the public eye as much as I think they should, to keep postponing these hearings, like you said, not airing it during prime time when people are able to actually watch, and not everyone has access to stream online. So just seeing how I won't say secretive.
We wouldn't have known this now.
Okay, so secretive. They're
Right.
trying to keep this so much of a secret. Mind you, this was a big deal. When we were rioting during the Freddie Gray situation, we were on CNN
Right.
all day long. So
Right.
why, when the same situation happens, but on a much greater scale, with a majority different kind of people, why is this such a secret? Hopefully, this will show America, especially Black.
Because it's look. We said it. I mean, look, go back. You said, why is it such a secret?
No, Faraji. I know why it's such a secret.
No, I know that.
I'm just saying, go to see how this is being handled, and we actually look into politics more than just, well, I'm not going to vote. I'm just going to leave it alone. No, we have to start learning about politics and the channels and how it funnels, so we can at least understand what the hell we're talking about and looking at.
And look, let me tell you, Trump knew that if he got enough people on board, enough credible people, even though that once they get on board with this big lie, they become discreditable. You know, they lose credit. But he knew that if he got enough influential and credible people on board, that he was going to do a few things. One is he will create doubt and suspicion in the mind of the voter, right? So now that's one of the places that a lot of Republicans mostly believe that President Biden is in office illegitimately, even though they could not tell you or show and give you any real evidence. They're believing that because of what's been fed. That's one. But the second thing is there is a fundraising side of this. We talked about the fact that last week, and on Brother Roland's show, he talked about this in more detail. $250 million went into the coffers of Donald Trump, which is to use to help other candidates and himself as a result of the campaign of Stop the Steal and the Big Lie. Mm-hmm. So there's a financial gain that everybody that is in the circle gets from this situation. Companies are getting something in return, right? They might be in a state where Toyota, for example, might have a plant in a state where they need some tax incentives. They put a little something in the congressman's pocket, in the senator's pocket. And as a result of that, they get tax breaks. That type of thing. That's level of, some people might describe it as dark money. But the point is that you're looking at a situation where money is becoming so, like, it's not about principle. Hell, it ain't even about democracy. It's just about who can fatten the pockets, right, to get what they want to get out of the situation. And it's just that simple. Lise, talk to me.
Well, a couple things. One, I don't think that I think half of Americans believe that this, in fact, was absolutely ridiculous, appalling. This is unacceptable. And I think that the 70 million plus people that voted for him don't necessarily agree with that. So I think we are in a place where there's a large amount of people that do believe Trump and what he's saying. And then I don't believe that Trump got people on his side. Trump is the head of the Republican Party, whether we know it or not. And so what happened was that people fell in line because the American public loved Trump. So Trump didn't have to necessarily get them on board. They jumped on board because they wanted to keep their selves in power. I think we do need to look at it because right now in New York, Trump is being looked at for campaign violations because he has not filed yet that he's actually going to be running for president yet. And he has made over $5,000 in donations. You cannot do that. He has clearly violated campaign finance laws. It's so many things that have been happening with Trump. And I think that the Democrats, I think this is where they failed a bit. Because I think they kept going after Trump for things that they knew they weren't going to be able to get him, and he became invincible. And at that point, now he believes that, and the people around him believe that. Like anytime he paid his daughter-in-law $60,000 to speak at the rally on January 6th, she got paid $60,000 to do that.
Wow.
That should not happen. But these are the type of things that continue to happen, and Democrats keep going after the wrong thing, and then we're back at square one.
Let me tell you why Democrats keep going after the wrong thing, which is surprising because they should know that a scenario like this, it only leads, like Trump is at the top of the chain, right? He's at the top of the whole pyramid scheme. Mm-hmm. And then you got his people underneath of him, even though they know he crazy or he wrong, they still ride with him because they get something from it. Then you got the lawmakers.
Right.
You got the lawmakers that are saying, yeah. Because why? They want to get the support. They don't have the balls to go against Trump. They're weak in their commitment to the people. They're weak in their commitment to themselves. So they're going to ride along because they're going to gain something from it, right? Then you got these companies. These companies are just looking for whatever road they need to take to build their interest. The sad part is that this is all being told as if it's about democracy, when it's not. Yeah, only a little bit about democracy, but this is what we're seeing happening from President Trump and the Republicans. This is not about democracy. This is not an attack on democracy, because democracy would include the people, right?
They attacked democracy. I mean, that was the other way around.
No, this is about money.
Exactly. It's always about the money.
This is about power and money, right? And guess why I say it's not about democracy? Because the people, we have no idea, and quote unquote, and we have very little ways to disrupt this. Mm-hmm. Like, money is flowing right now from these companies, right? Unless the American people say enough is enough, we're gonna stop patronizing FedEx, or we're gonna stop patronizing UPS, or we're gonna stop patronizing Marathon. Like, when you
don't come to work,
how do you gonna stop that?
You don't come to work. You can only make money if you have workers. Like,
but check this out. I mean, yeah, you're right, but check this out. How many people are willing to die on that sword?
Not a lot.
I
mean, in a time where prices are rising, rent is happening, people are getting put out of their house. Can you imagine if a man said, "Well, baby, this company supported Trump"? She gonna be like, "Yeah, well, you support us."
Is that
right? But that's
get your ass to work, man.
Right, but that's the issue that we have. You either complain about changing the system, or we have to stop. Like, we cannot say that we want the system to be different, but I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Like, I hear a lot of people saying, like, we got to do something. We need to readjust the system. The system is broken. The only way to readjust the system is to be uncomfortable. There will be a level of discomfort, and if you do not want that, we won't have that. But in this situation, I do think it's about democracy and protecting democracy, because if you don't believe in elections and that the voting actually works, people won't vote. And you think that it's bad now, it'll be even worse when these companies are the ones that make all the rules and the laws, and you can keep putting these same people back into policies. No, but in a way, they do get to do that. But you look at the places where these people live at, they're usually really strong Republican strongholds. Now, there are Democrats that take money too. Don't get me to lying. There are Democrats that take money. But there's a lot of people that are in these particular states that keep getting reelected because the people keep reelecting them. So if the ones that don't like it don't vote, because one, they don't think that the system is worth voting for, when people died for you to do that and they gave you that right to do that, you're not going to vote.
All right, go ahead real quick.
I think us back then, I think what we were fighting for back then, we didn't really understand the totality of it, I'll say. I definitely was the one that would say, my ancestors died for me to vote, But at the same time, I don't think they completely understood the totality of what they were trying to be included in, or at least what the times were different then. Yes, we have the right, but now, like, okay, to be able to play this game, what side of the fence are we on? Democrat, Republican, like we said, we over that. And the more we talk, I think our problem is, as far as minorities, the information. There are plenty of third-party delivery companies besides FedEx and UPS that if we found more information on, that we'd be able to exercise that. And we don't have to be necessarily uncomfortable, just take a different route. Instead of going to Home Depot, go to Lowe's.
Yeah, but Lowe's also donates money. So it is, to me, it's bigger than that. we are looking at this as far as voting. Yes, somebody did put down, and I think they understood exactly what that meant. And that's why we have the Voting Rights Act. That's why you are able to vote. That is why we have civil rights in place, because they did do that and they did make those sacrifices. It doesn't seem like we are exactly where we should be, because we're not. But I think that as long as we continue to do what we're supposed to do, and more of us, people like you, people like me, we actually get involved in politics, and we get more of those people, not less. We have people that have been in politics. Joe, how old is Joe? How many years has he been?
He's been in there for 50 years.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we need fresh blood, new blood, new ideas. Like, let's not vote people. Let's get more people into politics. People that you say, well, they don't look like a politician. I want them. Those are the people that are going to get. And we don't have
what you're proposing, Lisa, and I agree to a certain extent. It's just that, and we don't have enough time to jump all into it. But I will say that
I'm sorry, I was talking.
It's all good. But the system that we're asking people to vote to get involved in is not amenable to innovation. It's not amenable to justice. You know what I'm saying? It's not amenable to really have a group of people like that. Like, there are all these different interests that are in our political system right now. And so at this point, it's like everybody, it seems like, and I'm not saying all politicians are this way, but it seems like everybody is can be bought. Everybody is for sale. Any cause is for sale. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, okay, you got this problem? We'll handle it for you. Just give us the money. You know what I mean? And this seems like money, it still comes back to this idea that money is still the best way to handle a situation, when at the end of the day, we're seeing it each and every day in this country. You can have all the money in the world, but look at how many problems the American people are facing on the outside of themselves and on the inside of themselves as a result of the system that we're a part of. And we're not getting any better. Progress is sort of being made, but this country is getting ripped apart because of greed, because of inordinate self-interest, because of materialism, because of racism. I mean, you got all of these real issues that this country is burdened with. And at this point, how can you trust your political leadership if they say one thing in front of your face and then behind closed doors, they making other side deals with people who have the resources, the money, and the influence / power to really dictate the agenda? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like, it's hard to keep telling people have hope in the system, and then you come across this information, and you're like, damn, man.
I don't want hopelessness, because hopelessness leads
I know.
to despair,
I don't either.
and despair leads to destruction.
Fact.
And so we don't need people to be hopeless. We do need people to have some level of, because we can fix it. Like, if you're saying that they're going behind closed doors, there's more good people than bad, but there's a lot of people that don't know that you can get into politics. You can get in, you can do this. There's so many people that should be in politics that aren't. I've met so many smart, brilliant, bright young people that just, they can't get into politics. One, because of what you said, they don't have the money. It costs a lot of money in order to run in politics. And this is why, as Americans, if you want to take your money and go somewhere, try to invest in someone in your community that is running on that local level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, let us now talk about something that I think all of you are very interested in. Jussie Smollett. Oh, man. The Empire actor is once again pleading his case in the court of public opinion when he had recently gone on to the radio show Sway in the Morning to talk about all of the criticism that he has been getting as a result of his situation. He gets mad at people for not believing that all that he went through, the racial attack that he talked about, was still seen as a hoax. He can't believe it. And more importantly, he says that as a result of that so many people that he thought would be riding with him, his real friends, he's now seeing as they're in their true light. He said it on Sway in the Morning. Let me just share with you this quote, Ariel. Let's post the Mr. Smollett's quote. He said during the interview with Sway, he also shared advice a friend gave him a few years ago. He said, you may look at everything now and think that this is bad. Someone close to the actor observed. He said, you needed to mow the lawn so you can see all the snakes in your grass. He said, this is what Jussie said. He said, I do hold some people accountable for the things that they said, for the things that they did, for the ways that they reacted, because half of those people should have picked up the fucking phone and called me because they had my number, you know, and they didn't. I hold the people that went out there and said shit. I hold them to something, and not the people that don't know me but the people that do know me. Fuck out of here. Y'all know better than that, and y'all did that. That was some PR bullshit, and you know who you are. And I will not name names, and I love everybody, but I don't like everybody. That's Jussie Smollett showing how mad he is about the situation. Sinead, good to...
Man.
What is going... What? Just let it go.
It's sometimes, you know, it's best to say nothing. Right? And I think, let me tell you, and this is really funny, I take a lot of my advice literally by watching a very successful businesswoman by the name of Beyonce Giselle Knowles-Carter. The pundits are going to talk either way. Right. And the more you give them something to talk about, the more money they'll make, and the more it seems valuable to respond to all your responses and create new headlines for you to get upset about, for them to make another new headline, and the money still circulates, you know. Sometimes it's best to just say nothing, because the only truth that matters is the truth of God. You believe in what you believe in. Those focus less on those who aren't standing by you and focus on those who do. I mean, I will never place my judgment. I don't know. The story has always sounded interesting, for lack of better words. But Jussie, I hope, again, learning lessons. I hope he learned something from the entire situation. And also, he had said this on Sway, he held himself accountable for his ego. Because even when it came out and when everybody was on your side, you were flaunting, you know, I'm the gay Tupac and all that crazy. You have to be careful. You have to be careful what comes out of your mouth, because, you know, it ain't over until it's over. And even when it's over, it can be resurrected. We all know that. I'm tired of hearing about Jussie, or as Dave Chappelle would say, Jussie Smollett. I thought that was very funny that Dave Chappelle said that. But what I think is important, in my opinion, is what are you doing now? I think he just produced a movie on BET. I think he's doing focus. And that's what you have to take. And I know you know this, Raji, because you're in the media. When they throw them questions at you, you got to know how to redirect and go right to what you're doing.
Come on, man. It's like you got the worst publicists.
Yeah.
No, seriously. What we're seeing with Jussie Smollett is exactly what we were just talking about. When you have the wrong people around you, somebody got to tell Jussie, like, man, look, you may believe that this is the situation, but the people don't believe it. Stop talking about it, because you're going to look crazier and crazier. You know what I'm saying? I wonder, you know, look, man, when you're a celebrity, get some people that you grew up with around you, not the people that you meet while you're at a successful or high moment in your life. Get the folks that are like, that's when you need people, that's when you need those real friends to be like, yo, you sound crazy, bro. Man, stop that shit, man. Chill out. Chill out, man. Move on. People have moved on. You keep bringing it up, and you're going to keep being fodder. People are going to keep laughing at your pain, bro. Move on. You know what I'm saying? Like just, and I'm, come on, man. Come on, man. Stop doing it, Jussie, stop doing this to yourself. And the sad part about it is the sad part about it. We really have moved on. After that last trial, after he came out of prison, we stopped talking about it. Then I came across this and I was like, oh boy. I thought it was a nice update for all of you folks. So there's my gift to you. But no, seriously, like, move on. No one at this point, people are going to have their view of what you did or did not do. And at this point, just move on. Stop talking about it. Talk about, like you said, Sinead, you talk about your next project. What can people expect you to do? Move on. Because this thing, we want to forget it. Why can't you?
No.
There it is. Look, up next, we're going to take another pause. When we come back, quick pause. When we come back, let me tell you about what some things that are trending right now. Stay with us. It's Trends Posting doing the most up next here on The Culture.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, it's time for Trends Posting doing the most and telling you what some of the big trending topics that are happening on social media right now. Very quickly, Sinead, folks have been talking about Deshaun Watson. Of course, this is the Browns quarterback who has recently been traded from the Houston Texans. He has reached a confidential settlement in 20 of 24 civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct. Now, according to the Houston attorney, Tony Busby, who represents each of the 24 accusers, all of those 20 cases have been settled and they are working on the paperwork. According to Mr. Busby, he said once they're working through the paperwork related to those settlements, once they have done so, those particular cases will be dismissed. The terms and amounts of the settlements are confidential, and there will not be any further comment on the settlement on those cases. Now, one of the cases that has yet to be settled is Miss Ashley Solis's case. She is the first accuser, the original accuser of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is being accused of sexual misconduct and setting up a whole system where he asked women to come into, he flew women out to his residence in Houston and asked them for personal massages. And during those course of those massages, sexual misconduct allegations started to come out as he was, as women have said, that he had done everything to reveal himself, to rubbing up against the women while massages were taking place, to even going as far as doing self-pleasure while he was getting the massage. Now, Mr. Watson is also subject to potential penalty from the NFL, with Commissioner Roger Goodell still working through a probe into any potential wrongdoing by him, who could be hit with a substantial suspension if reports of Mr. Goodell's intent to deliver a 1-year ban are accurate. Now, again, the other thing about Deshaun Watson is that he signed a $230 million deal with the Cleveland Browns as part of that trade. And many people have said, what about the women? Real quick, you do the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do you handle a situation like this? 20 out of 24, 4 cases still out there. Sinead, how can this be resolved? Or at least what can be done to ensure that these women's voices are heard and that justice is done?
My heart goes out to those women because it's unfortunate. And there's always this notion where people will say, well, he was flying you out. Shouldn't you know? I mean, come on. No means no. That's first of all. That's very important. I feel terrible for them because of the pain that they're going through. And what I have to say is, let this be a lesson to many of people that we have to be careful in our movements. We have to be careful in the things that we expect to do. And if to many other affluent folks, you're inviting somebody over for a massage or whatever, and you have other intentions, it will behoove you to let that be known and maybe get something on paper, right?
Yeah.
Very, very important. In theory, the most illegal thing that he did was not explain to these women what they were coming there for. And I think it's very important that people know they are consent. No is a complete sentence. Consent is super important, and I hope that these ladies get whatever they need to begin the journey of healing.
I think so. I would agree with you first. King Lee, you checked in and said, well, it is good that brother Deshaun Watson is taking the steps needed to address these matters. I don't know, King, to be honest with you. I don't know if he really is addressing these matters. I mean, he's paying out. I don't know, but that means that they have enough evidence or some circumstantial evidence to say, you know what, he did commit some level of wrongdoing, and that they should be compensated for. So he's paying out, but when we're living in a time where women are abused and misused and treated and wrongly, like that is still not enough. You know what I mean? Like that is still not enough. And I'm talking about, you got 24 women who have lawsuits against you. Come on. That's unacceptable. If that was Deshaun Watson, the garbage man, Deshaun Watson, the doctor, if that was Deshaun Watson, the counsel person, I mean, you got 24 women who say that who have alleged sexual misconduct from you. You wouldn't have a job. So what makes a difference now? Oh, he's an NFL quarterback. The NFL don't pay you for good character. They pay you for great physical talent. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But to your point, brother, I hope the women are finding some healing. Do I want to see the brother go taken down? And no, it's just about, he got to take accountability, and then we got to know when we violate. Like, there are consequences to that. That's just very simple. No means no. And just because a woman is in a space, it doesn't matter what time of day. If she's coming for one intent and you come in because you trying to deceive her and trying to, trying to influence her to do something that she's not comfortable with doing, there's still a violation. Still a violation. Yeah. Here's some other news that is trending right now, though on a much lighter note as we close out the show. Sinead, do you still eat at KFC? What's formerly known as Kentucky Fried Chicken?
No, but from time to time. If there's no Popeyes around, maybe.
All right, well, then you can appreciate this, folks. KFC has gone so far, and you know, their branding for a very long time was always, you know, their food is finger licking good. Well, they've taken it to the next level by designing what they call finger sporks to help you enjoy their side dish. Look at this, folks. Look at this. Finger sport. Finger sporks, the innovative eating utensil, is free for anyone who orders a KFC Sides Lovers meal. When did forks become so cumbersome that we can't even hold a fork? Like, do we get a fork and we like, I can't grip it. F it. Pop it on a finger. What? We can't even hold the fork? What's wrong with this? Is this hard to do? It's just like, why should they got this? You got this.
You know my background, my family from Africa, so certain things we can talk about forks and sports.
No, hey, Sinead, this is offensive to. Look, I can get using hands. It's either hands or utensils, but a spork that you pop on your finger. Come on, bro. Come on. Like, this is harder. Like, I know people that I can't even get, bro, this is harder. Like, can you imagine eating corn with this? You just like,
you're gonna look dumb.
Yeah, girl, that's crazy. That's crazy, girl. You look crazy. The mashed potatoes, you know how the mashed potatoes get, you know, you get a little harder, so you gotta, I mean, what do you say to your children? Don't eat with your hands.
Say don't play with your food. It's like you playing with your food.
Don't play with your food. Here you doing this. Mommy, what are you doing? I'm staring.
Thank God they don't sell soup there. Could you imagine?
Hey, Ariel, post that. Just post it. Look how small the fork is. Like, you can get like 3 kernels of corn on that. Ariel, please show that. It must be good. Look at that. Like, oh, wait a minute. 1. You can literally count how many kernels of corn you can get on that. 5. Boom. You get 5. You get 5 kernels of corn. Yeah. You should be finished that meal in a day and a half.
I hate to say it, but if you pay attention to that picture, you see the color of the hand in which is holding said finger spork. That's my take.
Ariel, show us the picture again. This is what they tell me. And I mean, you giving this, I can see you do this for like children, but for adults, I better not see one person. Man, I better not see one person coming out with KFC like, man, I got them sporks, man.
Finger sporks.
let me eat this food real quick. Hold on, yo. See what I'm saying? This is the company that is doing the most right now. The final point, who was complaining about using utensils?
You know who was complaining.
Who was complaining?
Nobody.
No, seriously. Who was complaining? Who wrote KFC? Who put it on the back of their customer survey and say, and guess what? Guess what, KFC? I don't appreciate you passing me side orders with a fork. I'd rather have something that I can use on my fingers because my hands can't take that type of pressure.
I'll tell you what, Faraji. KFC, if you don't know what to do with your money, there are 4 HBCUs in the state of Maryland that would love to use some of that funding that y'all did for that marketing and production.
Y'all would
do something palatable for people.
This is when a company has too much money to burn or something. Give it to us. We'll make good use of it without using your hands.
There you go.
All this is goes to one account to the other.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa.
Coach, that's a Buick.
That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built in.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
All right, so look, I wanted to have a conversation. I thought this was very interesting. This is Black Music Month. And what I found to be interesting is how we are as Black artists with other people, but we're not the same with ourselves.
I hear you.
All right, so here's the situation. So Lizzo, everybody knows Lizzo, right? Y'all know Lizzo. This is the sister that, you know, she has taken her pain, turned it into power as a songstress, you know, creating music. She says she wants to empower the big girls. Everybody know about Lizzo. Well, in a recent song, she got a song called Girls. She uses a term SPAZ, spaz. And according to the Washington Post, Ariel and Keenan, let's post this. According to the Washington Post, the new version of the song Girls replaces the term spaz lyric with Hold Me Back. In the United States, the term has long been another way of saying freaking out. But the disability community claims the word derives from spastic diplegia, which is a common type of cerebral palsy. Some people also note that using the word to suggest you're going crazy is hurtful to the mental illness community. So, what do you think Lizzo did when she heard about this from the disabled community? Well, she changed her song lyric and pretty much re-recorded the song. Had the song re-recorded. So she put out a statement saying this, folks. Take a look at what Lizzo had to say. Mm-hmm. Let's post that second quote. She said, "I'm proud to say there's a new version of Girls with a lyric change. This is the result of me listening and taking action. As an influential artist, I'm dedicated to being part of the change I've been waiting to see in the world." I like it, Lizzo. I like it. But here's my issue. And I don't know if I'm too far in this whole thing, Bakari.
No.
But how many terms do we listen to in music that offends Black people? And yet those terms never change, even from Black artists. I remember Oprah having this conversation with Jay-Z and other hip-hop artists years ago. And she was talking about the use of the N-word. And, you know, at that time, Jay and other artists was like, oh, it's a term of endearment, blah, blah, blah. And Oprah was like, but I heard that term when I was a little girl growing up in the South, and it was a hurtful term. It was offensive. It was this. You know, you calling the Black woman B words, and the artists will always. Well, I'm not saying that you know, I have a mother. I love my mother. I love my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, what do we have to do? Is if the disabled community, and I'm fine with them doing that. I think if the disabled community says this is offensive, we want it to change, and they galvanize and organize to do that, and then the artist can respond to them. Why aren't we seeing the same type of response, Bakari, from the artists to change their lyrics that they know can be offensive? I'm trying to say, is this a double standard? Is this hypocrisy? What are we saying here?
I don't think it's a double standard. I want to say I applaud Lizzo for making the change. I really do. I admire her. I think it shows an example of what it looks like, what it could look like in real time, to say, "Oop, I messed up. I didn't set out with the intention to do that. Now that I know better. Let me show you what it means to actually do better." So I applaud her. I think the distinction is when you are a part of a group and when you're not part of the group. So I think that, with the Oprah and Jay-Z conversation, shout out to the accent that you just put on. I didn't know you had it in you, brother. But part of that distinction, right, is that Oprah and Jay-Z are both part of that same group that we consider, right, culturally, you can say the N-word if you are part of the Black community, right? If you are somebody that could be called the N-word, then we see ourselves as having this permission to use the term, right? You could reclaim it if it's one that has been used to describe you. I think the distinction here with Lizzo is that the term, and you read out the condition that's associated with the term spaz, right? She recognizes that she's not a part of a community that is disabled through that specific diagnosis. So I think that Lizzo was saying, hey, you know what? This is not a term that's ever offended me. I've been saying it for years. It never had this negative connotation. This is what it's meant for me. But I'm not part of this community that it actually describes. I'm not part of the community that it, from a medical standpoint, that it actually refers to. And because I'm on the outside looking in, I can acknowledge and respect what you all are communicating to me. So I will also say, I think as a Black and queer person at the intersections, it's like, this is, what a lot of folks experience, when it comes to asking or requesting, demanding the use of different pronouns, right? It's, well, you don't see yourself as a part of that, so you don't have to be bothered, or, we're reading too much into it. And like I said, I applaud Lizzo. I think that she's listening, so to me, and I hear a lot of folks saying, it's too sensitive, but we're sensitive people. Like, why pretend that we're not sensitive people? And if she has the access to capital to re-record the song and low-key create even more buzz as a result of doing something positive that's more inclusive as opposed to being divisive, why not, man? Like, so to me, I think it's a step in the right direction. I know there are a lot of people that are saying it's too deep and it's not that serious.
I think it is.
I think it is. I see her as bringing more people in as opposed to shutting more people out. So
I would agree with you there. I think it is. I think it was mature of her to say, you know what, I was wrong. But I tend to see that there is a double standard there, though.
I hear you. I do.
I think there's a double standard just because we have complained. I mean, Black people, we have complained. We have tried to quote unquote. I remember years ago. Y'all remember those demonstrations to bury the N-word? Y'all remember that? I mean, I saw it went so far, Bakari. I saw one situation where they actually had like a coffin. They were standing in the grave,
yes.
And they were like, "We're gonna bury the N-word," and it's like it's all performative. But then at the end of the day, it didn't catch fire as to change the culture.
But again, I think that the distinction is that Lizzo can make this because she's saying, I was corrected as an outsider to the community that this particular word impacts. She can make that change. I think if we were as Black folks organizing around a non-Black person using that term, that would be something different. We'd be telling them not to use the term. But I think within our own group, right, we are allowed to have discourse within our own cultural group and to decide whether or not you're going to actually use it. So I hear you, and I think I understand where you're coming from, but I guess I don't necessarily see it as a double standard, because in this instance, it's an intercommunal dialogue that we're having, as opposed to someone from the outside coming in and saying, I'm going to call you N-word. I'm going to continue to use N-word in my music and my whatever other, materials. So that's kind of how I see that breakdown. So I don't know if it's necessarily, it feels like to me it's slightly apples and oranges in terms of how we decide who gets to say what,
It could be. I just think that it's interesting that we're living in a time and a space where fans of certain music can kind of dictate the music that they want to hear, right? And it's always contingent upon the artist to change it. For example, here's a prime example. So on one side, here's an artist like Lizzo who's saying, okay, y'all don't like it, I offended you, that's fine, I'll change it. But then, like, Drake's new album just dropped, Honestly Nevermind. That dropped on early at midnight this morning. And some people react and say, oh, this is the worst Drake album ever, and this is terrible. This dance hall, what is this mess? And Drake was like, if you don't like it, that's because you ain't catch up to it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not in a space of like trying to appeal to or trying to get more people to be a part of his fan club. He's like, hey, it is what it is.
Though. He has in the past when that snippet that he sampled off of R. Kelly's album came up, But
see, and I guess that's the thing. Like, it's like, what are the boundaries? Because I remember when the whole R. Kelly thing dropped, like when Surviving R. Kelly, then you saw all these artists, Chance the Rapper, and all these different artists who's like, oh, I don't want this song going. But it's like, bruh, you mean to tell me y'all just realized that R. Kelly was this type of dude after the song was made?
Yeah.
But then you don't want him on your album. Somebody who was it? Somebody just put out an album and they had just a couple of samples of R. Kelly, and people were like, oh my gosh. And it's like, oh, Kendrick, even with Kendrick's latest album, people are like, oh my gosh, you reference R. Kelly, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but y'all do know that this situation with R. Kelly been around for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So now you acting like you brand new. It's just, I think people pick and choose what's acceptable. And I guess my bigger point to all of this is, at the end of the day, we determine what the culture is. And I don't think a lot of us like really understand that if you don't like what an artist has to say, same thing that Rick Ross did when he talked about popping, putting something in a woman's drink, and how the survivor community was like, what the hell are you talking about? And he had to come out and make a statement and all of those things. Like, we determine the culture.
Yep.
Like, if the artist feels like this is acceptable because the people don't push back on it, then the artist is going to continue to make content that speaks to that level of silence or that level of ignorance.
Yep.
So I think I just think that culturally, it's important to have these conversations, to highlight this, to say, you know what? We do have power. You can tell an artist. Now, you may like the N-word, but I don't like it. You may like for women to be called the B word. I don't like it. But guess what? If you don't say anything, if that's cool for you, then the audience is not going to feel compelled to change it or to mature from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that's an interesting take, Bakari.
I hear you. I agree. I think if we were to see a subset of Lizzo's fans, that spoke out about her using the N-word, if that was, something that was common in her music, I don't necessarily think that it is, but I think if we were to see a subgroup come out and say that I think would be the really interesting, the really interesting conversation to see whether or not she would be equally as compelled to make that level of change.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal?
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Folks, women across the country right now are trying to figure out what is going on with feminine products, as there has officially been a tampon shortage in America. And guess who is not happy? Women who need it the most. Man, oh man. According to many reports, the shortage, and then let me just throw this up here on the screen, Keena. Let's share with folks what's being reported about this situation. But there is a holdup. Consumers, women, have had to contend with product shortages throughout this whole pandemic, but be it toilet paper and hand sanitizer or cleaning wipes and baby formula, which has become a new normal, but one that consumers in the United States aren't accustomed to. Now, that has led to the place that we're in right now, that some of the inventory issues stem from the rising cost of cotton, rayon, and plastic, according to Narev Patel, who serves as the president and chief executive of Bristol Cone, a supply chain logistics company. Demand for such materials has been squeezed in recent years by the rush to produce medical essentials in the pandemic. And now supply challenges are heaping problems on producers. And you know who one of those problems are? Procter and Gamble. That's one of them. That is the maker of the tampon, the Tampax tampon. And as a result of that, feminine products are put on are being on hold. And so if women are able to find some feminine products, they're buying them in droves. They're just taking them off the shelves. And I couldn't have a conversation like this without having two sisters to talk to me about it, because I'm trying to figure out, what do we do about this? All right, let's bring them back in. Our culture crew members, Lise Winnie, Nira Muhammad. Lisa, let's talk to you about this. This is becoming a real problem. Women are trying to figure out what to do for their time of need, their time of the month, their cycles, and then when they go to the store and don't see these materials available, what are women saying? What are women doing?
Well, I think that a lot of women didn't expect this, even though with the pandemic, because a lot of it started with the pandemic, and then right. We didn't have enough product. And it's not just because a comment was saying just tampons. It's actually not just tampons. It's both. So it's all sanitary products for women or people who need them. Let me say that correctly. People who need them. Right. So I will say that this is something that other countries have been dealing with for years. Women having access to adequate care and women's healthcare products has been a problem for years. And then we also have to do something where not only are we don't have the products, but when they do have the products, they're raising the price. So we're seeing the inflation hit women. There's already a woman's tax. Like anything that has woman in the name or specifically for women has an increased price. You can look at deodorant. You can look at all of those things. Yep. It costs more to be a woman, and that is unfortunate. And I think this is where we're finally seeing this all come together. I don't know what other women are doing, and what we're starting to see, some women are stockpiling, where they're buying a lot of them, which is going to cause an impact, especially for our poorer or less women that don't have as much money. So we're going to see that this is going to impact those poorer or harder hit low income communities, which is unfortunate. So I hope that we do something as far as with inflation. Yes, you mentioned the hike. That is the only way to curb spending. And that is why they raise interest rates. So I don't know if this will bring some of the inflation down with the cost, but we'll have to see.
I don't know, at least because everything has gone up in this damn country. I mean, I'm serious. Everything has gone up. And one of the things that that CVS has put it out there. They put it out there in an official statement that they've been unable to fulfill the full quantities of orders placed. Walgreens said it is experiencing some temporary brand-specific shortages in certain geographies. I mean, it sounds like the places, the sources that women would go to get these products, they don't have them. And so it's just leaving women in a state of limbo.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say I haven't had this issue thus far. I will say, though, I'm a little bit bougie about my feminine products. I only use organic, 100% cotton tampons and panty liners. So we're pretty full typically because I don't really hit the Tampax U products, which are or Kotex, which is more widely used. So I will say that there are a lot of alternative products that you can use. I've been hearing and seeing a lot more women say that they use that reusable cup. It's like a plastic little cup that you insert inside of yourself and it catches it. You rinse it out, wash it out, you reinsert it. I don't know, a lot of women have said that they're just over. Before this even happened, they're like, listen, I am so tired of buying tampons and pads. Like, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. I'm over it. I'm ready to switch to something different. I mean, again, I started my cycle when I was about 10 years old. I'm 30 something. So yeah, like 20 something years of my life have been spent literally buying tampons and pads. It's one of those things that's like, as women, we're just so used to doing it. Also, another really, really cool product that I do want to try, they actually have these really, they look really, really cute and comfy, but they're panties. And they even have the boy shorts, like the boxers, and they catch it all. So that we don't even have to wear the tampons or the pads, and you wash them and you can reuse them. So I do want to give them a try. They are a little bit pricey, as Lise mentioned, but I did see some products that offer them for a little bit cheaper. I saw some on Amazon. So sometimes as women, when in a crisis, especially as Black women, we gotta be creative. You know, I saw that when the baby formula shortage was around, doctors were telling women different ingredients of ways that they can make milk that was sustainable for the infants to digest. So we really have to be creative because we just talked about everything with Ukraine and Russia. We don't know what times lie ahead. So all those systems that we're so used to and that we're so comfortable with, again, as Lise mentioned, there are women around the globe who don't have access to tampons and pads every month. To even get a tampon or pad, they probably like, what is this magic? What is this sorcery? You know, so I mean,
it's so funny because, you know, Davey said, look how concentrated Faraji is. I'm concentrated, Davey, because I'm bringing it up, but I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? This is not my lane, obviously, but I'm listening, and I can only imagine, and you know, being in a situation like this where you're trying, and men and guys, look, this is one of those situations where you're like, man. That's one thing about being a guy. We don't have to worry about certain things, right?
I mean, unless you're an older man and you have some incontinence issues, you need your male diapers, true. You know, that males do use those if you're going through, you know.
You're right.
They do have those products as well.
That's absolutely right. And I think there needs to be a stigma that has to be the stigma of men going to the store. You know, I remember back in the day getting my sister her feminine product. And you know,
I send you like every month. You know, I barely even get my products anymore.
I don't even blink an eye. It's like, yeah, bro, I got a woman in my house.
Exactly. I'm telling y'all, Faraji knows what to get. Like, he knows, don't you dare come in this house. If it's not organic, don't you dare bring that in here. And another reason why I do support the organic brands as well, because one, they're brands that are made by women. They're small business, typically they're small business owners. Right. And then they also, some of the proceeds of what you spend, they do go towards products for women in different parts of the world who don't have access, or for different programs for girls. And so that is another reason to support the smaller brand. And I want to say healthier because they also have less they have less toxins, they have less products inside of it. And when it comes to your vaginal health, ladies, treat that cat right and she'll treat you good back. I'm just saying take good care of yourself. And like I promise you the products are not that much more expensive than like always. That's maybe $1 more, maybe $1.50 more. But I promise you, like, my body has seen so many positive changes since I switched from using products that had chemicals in it to organic products. I mean, you're never gonna want to use that stuff again. So make an impact on the world. Be clean, you know, like.
So here's the big thing, I think, and I'm glad that you brought this up there. I mean, Elise, here's the thing. For a moment like this, and I don't personally, I hope that it doesn't continue to be a long-standing situation, right? But for a moment like this, I would think that this would be a perfect opportunity to start teaching girls, young girls, adolescents, just having some different conversations about feminine hygiene, about feminine health. Do you think that can possibly happen, or is that already happening right now, especially within the Black and brown communities and those communities that need to have these conversations the most?
I honestly don't think that we've gotten to that point. And I don't think it should just be girls I think boys should also learn this, because if they understand the importance of it, they also understand how the body works. And unfortunately, we still have a lot of men that are at the heads of these companies. You would get more and better products if men and boys understood the menstrual cycle just as well as women do, just point blank, period. But I will say that we do need to just kind of like going back just a bit. Yes, I'm not as bougie, so my cat is not that bougie. So I
promise you, they're not expensive though. They're not expensive. I promise you, they're not. They're not expensive. Giant that makes the Nature's Promise brand is really, really good too, and it's all 100% organic cotton. I promise you, it's like not expensive at all. Like it just try it out and tell me how to. Oh, I tried mac and cheese balls finally. Speaking of something to try out, only Lisa will understand this because we had this whole mac and cheese ball.
Well, I mean, there's so many jokes. There are so many jokes I could say, but I'm gonna just reserve them. So go ahead, Lisa. I'm gonna let you finish.
My bad.
You're fine. No, but I think that we do need to have a conversation though, because again, like the formula shortage, even though it's $1 or $1.50 more, that's a lot of money. It adds up for someone who barely can put food on the table. And like these products typically give you less. So sometimes women are stretching these products out. I think really what needs to happen is there should be some type of stipend for women. I think this is something that they looked at a while back, so that we can afford these products, or at least make these products free to women, so that we're not constantly spending all of that money. And maybe at that point, and speaking of money that the government is spending, maybe this is where some of that money could go to make sure that all women have access, because even some women here don't have access every month, and to be able to do the things that they need to do while they're on their cycle. And that is not what it should be. Like in India, some of the women there in the poorer villages, they use whatever they can find. And this should be. And that's not just happening there, that's happening here. So we do need to make sure that there's access just in general.
And I feel like the idea of us trying to use something more sustainable in general, I think, and I'm not saying everyone has to do this because I don't do it. It's something I've tried, and I haven't reached that point where I like it enough to do it. But I do think that is something that we should start pushing more to our younger girls. And maybe I'm not comfortable using those tools because I started out using pads and tampons. So now it's like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like this. You know what I mean? I don't have a string. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot different. But if we teach our girls very young and very early on to maybe use those products, I'm just thinking about the sustainability of our earth, of our world, and just what we could do to make it a better place and just more healthy and, less chemicals and all that good stuff. These are things we have to think about because the globe is really changing and we like to pretend like it's not, but we are contributors to our earth.
Absolutely. I want to bring in some comments that folks are checking in and talking about this. I, forensic accountant, I'm going to post your comment, but I don't know what the response is going to be. Why would any woman still use a tampon in 2022? Then again, many run around for the toxic shock syndrome that rocked this country in the early 80s.
Okay, I've been using tampons for over a decade, and I don't have any toxic shock syndrome. But again, I do understand like your thought process of using the reusable plastic. I just personally, I've tried it. I've tried 2 different kinds. I mean, use what's comfortable for you. Like we shouldn't be judgy about it. Like we can give each other great advice. We can give each other pointers, but again, I'm even saying use it, but guess what? I'm not a user of it. So, But have I tried it? Yes, I have. Tried something. If you don't like it, if it's not for you, don't let anyone bully you into using something.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Mike V checked in and said, my masculine products. Yes, Mike V.
Yes, sir. Yes, King.
Mike. The masculine products. My masculine products have gone up too. Wave brush and Old Spice Swagger deodorant is crazy right now. Mike V, you use Old Spice?
Listen, I have to agree with him on that.
Mike come into the spot, he be like, "Hello, ladies."
Nah, real talk though, Faraji. I spent some money on those gifts for you though, like those all your little male product, your eye cream and stuff. That stuff is not cheap. And Target got the whole little setup for men now. It's like I feel like I'm at Ulta.
Look, I me and there talk about this. I'm at that age now where I was like, oh, she's like, what you want? I was like, give me a bag of products, beard, I need some beard butter. I need something for my hair.
I got him some wrinkle cream for his eyes.
For my eyes. Look, man,
gotta keep your skin right.
Hey, keep your
skin.
Your nails.
As you mentioned, being a woman is expensive. It's only right that they do these little things to look good for us too. We gotta worry about eyelashes, nails, hair, toes. Now women are too bougie. Look, I'm not this bougie, but women are too bougie now to shave. Everybody has to go to European Wax Center.
right.
I'm allergic to wax, so I tried it, and that backfired on me because I'm allergic.
Oh no.
Girl, I'm just shaving it on that.
See, now this is about to become a Millennials Anonymous podcast with all of that inside joke. All right, let's go. Let's keep it going. Karina checked in. Karina said, because pads can sometimes be a nightmare, and as a man, be thankful. You'll never understand why. Let me just tell you, I am thankful. Karina, I am thankful. But here's the other thing. I am accommodating as well. So when it's nearest time, I'll be like, she'd be like, go to the store. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to the store. Bye-bye. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation. Rashida.
That's me? I thought that was my before coffee voice in the morning. I thought it was my before coffee voice.
Right, that's the morning voice. Morning. Rashida checked in and said, look, I started my cycle at 10 years old, and now I'm 50. Now on flow can go to hell. Now I'm ready for the menopause.
Listen, sis, I'm with you. I got my 1 tube tied. So I'm like, do I really even need this anymore? Like, I can't even get pregnant. Like, come on, sis. Bye.
Yes.
I'm gonna just leave it alone because we twins in that way, but I'm gonna leave it alone because like you said,
leave it alone. Thank you. Let's go to Janine. Janine checked in and said, look, and the organic options can be way more expensive depending on where you live, and not to mention women pick brands that work best for their flow. How about that? She also said,
like, first of all, I don't think I'm being over. I think I'm over exaggerating because I'm pretty sure these organic tampons are not more than freaking Always, because Always is expensive. Let's just be clear. And that's also, and with the organic ones, first of all, my tampon package for my organic ones comes with super and regular, and they have all different types of sizes and flows. So that's another myth. See, this is why I love this show, because we're debunking myths now. We're educating other women. Organic does come in different various flows, because my sisters and I all joke about it all the time. All 3 of us have a different flow. We all use the organic products. It's not, and it's, I'm a cheap person. I only go to Old Navy for sales. Faraji, like, I am a very penny pincher. I like to go to Marshall's, TJ Maxx kind of woman.
Right.
But there are some things that you just don't dip on, baby. And my vagina is one. That's for me.
You splurge. There's nothing wrong.
I splurge for my vagina. You're right.
Okay, let's go.
But I'm not splurging though, because it's really not expensive. Like, it's not.
Right.
I think maybe when they first came out they were, but I think it's more equitable now.
All right, Danita, let's go to you. Danita said, yes, period products should be covered under insurance. It is something that is not voluntary. It is necessary. I agree with that. I agree with that.
But not if they're gonna choose my products for me though.
No,
that's the drawback I have with that. If they're gonna choose my products for me or like deliver me like government tampons, y'all can keep that. I'm good. I'm gonna spin the block for mine.
You got government cheese, government milk, government tampon. No, okay.
Oh, the big bulky joints that they used to have the school nurse. That's what it gives me PTSD. You know what I'm talking about, Lee.
Right.
Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. The school nurse joints.
Mike Green.
Brick by brick.
Mike Green said a woman's decision is between her and God. End story. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And look, that's what I'm saying. And I think that as men, that we should allow the space for women. Like, I can't dictate a woman's body. I mean, we're talking about tampons here, which is a quote unquote like small thing, but then it gets into a larger conversation, Lisa Nira, about, you know, women's health, reproductive health, women's health in general, right? And then you're starting to get in a conversation from everything from abortion to other rights that women should have on their bodies. And I think that it's very, very important that you ladies have the space, have what you need to dictate and determine what's best for your body. Most importantly, have the education to determine, okay, how do I make sure that my body stays healthy? How do I make sure that everything is working properly here? How do I make sure that I'm being supported? And I think that goes over the head of a lot of people, Lise, that especially men in powerful positions, political leaders, they don't understand that. They still look at the women's body as being a possession rather than a gift.
Yeah, because they don't teach boys to understand first that a woman is an equal and not as, like a possession. That's what they've been taught pretty much their whole lives. And then they don't understand how the body works. And this is why I said this is a disservice to boys when they actually because that was back in the day. But when I was in school, they separated the boys and the girls. Like the girls learned about the girls and the boys learned about the boys. And I was like, that's not how this should be. Men should learn about this just like women should.
I agree.
And again, kind of like going back to what we were saying about the insurance, I think that if they give a stipend, sort of like you can go to the pharmacy and buy it and then you purchase your own products, I think that would be great. Maybe that's something they should look into.
And we don't have the money because we got to help other countries.
Well, that's true. But here's the thing: that speaks volumes. I mean, just something of, and I'm not trying to diminish the importance of this, but I mean, this is a small situation compared to other things. But just doing something such as, hey, we're going to provide a stipend for women products. I mean, imagine if any government, or especially the United States government, were to extend that level of benefit to women. I mean, I would think that would turn this country into, I mean, it would do wonders for this country. Just a simple gesture of the United States government. We understand we're going through this great tampon shortage right now. As a result, over the next 3 months, until we get things with the supply chain taken care of, we're going to provide some stipends. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's just frustrating to me that a simple gesture like this is not something that's being put before the American people, especially the women of this country, and to ease and to relieve some of the burden. It's mind blowing. Neri, you got the final word. What's your take?
Yeah, I just think that, again, all the comments were really great today in terms of the conversation. Women, my last final thought is just do what's best for you and what's most comfortable for you. We all have our own preferences, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, be who you are, do what's comfortable for you and your body, and who cares what other women are doing? Do you think?
Absolutely. Very quickly, I want
maybe don't stock up on too many boxes, though, because then that, just like Lee said, it just makes it worse. Maybe get like 2 or 3 boxes, but like not more than that.
Hey, I want to do this very quickly. Hey, Keenan, we got a second quote around how much the feminine hygiene industry is really, really bringing in each and every year. Check this out very quickly, folks. This is from the Washington Post. If you want to know how serious of an issue this is, the feminine hygiene industry is projected to be worth more than $54 billion by 2028, and the average user will pay roughly $1,800 over the course of their life if using tampons, or more than $4,700 if they use pads, according to research by Pandia Health. Applicators and other waste from menstrual products contribute greatly to the plastic pollution choking the ocean. Wow. That's
yes, it does.
How serious this situation really is.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Uh-huh.